What's up, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with a CGC rant slash reveal. And so here I am today. I appreciate everybody that's watched live, but even you who watch it on the rewind, I appreciate you too. But before we get into all this rant and revealing what I got from CGC, be sure to go ahead and smash that like button. And that you can go ahead, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification so that when videos like this drop ever so randomly, you will be the one to be able to make the conscious decision as to whether or not to watch it now or watch it later. Now, some of you have been asking, hey, do you ever have anybody on your channel? Are you just a solo act? I mean, what's going on? Well, hey, what's going on today with Warlord, who happens to be the first person in the chat? I do appreciate you joining me today, as well as my guest. You might know him as Big Will. What's going on, Big Will?
I have arrived.
Big Will has arrived, and so now y'all can't say I never have a guest before because I have Big Will. And what's going on, Shiny? Thank you for joining today. But yeah, so ask Big Will to come on with me. Sometimes it does help to have somebody else who has some experience in said issues with certain companies, as well as certainly opinions on them either way. So I got back yesterday or day before yesterday 2 of my books. Now I sent off books, and this is going to be part of the rant for later, but I sent off several big books. TMNT 1, 3rd print, and then we've got Werewolf by Night 32, First Moon Night. Then we've also got Tomb of Dracula 10 in there. We got TMNT first print of issue 4. There's several big books in this pile of books. Well, when they get to CGC, they disperse them all out. Some say received, some say scheduled for grading. I end up getting back 2 of my books, of which I'm going to show you today. Let's see if I do it like that. Maybe it's a little bit better. All right. So I got back a Werewolf by Night. I'm going to see how do it like this, maybe. There we go. So I'm going to do it like this and see how observant you guys are and gals might be. But this is a Werewolf by Night 32. They just announced, or supposedly, who's going to be playing Moon Knight, Mark Spector, in the deal. We shall see if that comes to pass. It might be kind of like She-Hulk, but that's an aside. This is his first appearance in Werewolf by Night 32. Kind of good timing of these books, considering that it's Halloween and all that kind of jazz. But this one was supposed to be a 6.0. Why does that say 3.5, people? Well, if you'll notice the tab up there, it doesn't say Werewolf by Night, does it? It says Tomb of Dracula 10.
Well, okay, that means either you're wrong and that is a Tomb of Dracula 10, or they have made a mistake.
Or you might be right on the second count, because you notice that this says Werewolf by Night, and there's my 6.0. But this is a Tomb of Dracula 10, First Blade. And so while I was glad and the gray hurt my feelings on this Tomb of Dracula, they kind of beat it up pretty bad. I was glad to get it back. I was assuming that the label was going to be right, but we see that.
I'm not the best with grammar, but I'm fairly certain that is a Tomb of Dracula 10, not a Werewolf by Night.
Yeah. I mean, you would think. And so they have this thing called quality control at CGC. I think it's supposed to just double check behind people and stuff. Well, I think that they've been trying to diversify their workforce, and they hired somebody that was blind. I think they hired somebody.
That's a reasonable guess, actually.
Visually impaired. And so they, how did they, that's what I've been asking, Kurt. I see if they had comics on the mind, they wouldn't have had that problem. But I think they were worried about, smoking some ganja later on or something like that. This is the same thing with different books. Yeah, look, And so you would think that they've been able to pull things together with con season and but they've also added back to their workflow all these in-house signings. These in-house signings, I told CGC that these in-house signings, my books are getting put on the back burner, and they say they're not. That's a lie, because they guarantee that these people are going to get their books in and get them out quicker than what normally happens. So all of us who don't pay for expedited grading during this time of all these in-house signings, we're getting our books put on the back, regardless of our membership status. I'm not the top tier one. I'm the next to the top tier, but that still doesn't mean anything, right? Obviously.
I've had a different experience with that myself, but with the time frame of the signings, but
okay.
Mine had to do with Scotty Young, and he was the only one signing. Now what we have is a whole list of like 18 people that the books had to be in by the same date. So that date is now passed. So now we got to figure out, okay, how are they going to do this? Who's first? Who's last? I don't know if they're actually going to be able to do, their 3 weeks or not. But it doesn't start, the clock doesn't start until they actually physically get signed. But that could be, another 3 to 4 weeks before, I got Jim Starlin. What if he's the last one in? And that's like a month and a half from now.
Right.
Then there's 3 weeks on top of that. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes.
It's Tomb of Dracula by Night. Yeah, it must be a new series I was not aware of. But they decided to do that. Let's see, Slide It Up says, my first 15 books just got pressed and they had been there 3.5 months. If you sent them to their presser, I have a story for that one as well. It just so happens I've had an experience with that too. And this is for those of you who do not recognize this book, this is X-Men 58, Neil Adams cover. This is the first appearance of Havoc. Notice it says a 1.8. And then up at the top, it says cover detached. Now, this cover was attached when I sent it to them. I sent it to their pressing service. I got all the books that were not pressed in that order back in a timely fashion. This was the end of last year. This one, however, took all of 4 or 5 months to get back to me because their pressing service is horrible. But see, they've got it figured out that if you want it pressed and signed, like at, say, a show, or you're like running behind schedule to get to these in-house signings, you got to use their presser for you to be able to maintain that yellow label. It's a monopoly on it, and this is some of my rant today and some of Big Will's rant because he's got another example of some great quality control. But talking about this one right here, all they had to do when I pointed this out to them is own it. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all human. We make mistakes. It's all in how you handle it and own up to it. So what they did was blame it on the presser, and it became an Abbott and Costello skit here. Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third. Look, you got to own up to your mistakes, people. It's pretty simple. All they had to do to make this right for me, in my mind, was say, look, I'm sorry. We messed up. We can't fix your book, obviously. But what we're going to do, we're going to give you a free grading. Or we're going to give you a $25 credit next time you send some books in. I would have been perfectly okay with that, right? Now, if this was an X-Men 1 and they did that to it, maybe not so much. But it wasn't really a high-grade book in the first deal.
Yeah, and there are similar stories. High Comic Bro has a couple of videos where he says that he sent a couple books in and they detached or did damage to both books. They mentioned one and then sent the other one without saying a word. And he got it back, and the grade was a shock. And he had to look at the label and figure out what happened. DS Comics has had the same type of issue before where something was damaged. I have had something similar happen to me. I personally got a book back, and it wasn't detached or anything, but it wasn't pressed and it wasn't cleaned, but yet it was a 9.8, and you could tell it by looking at the book. So I paid for a pressing and cleaning that never happened.
Yeah, so Los had the same issue with his
Yeah, I watched
Steranko.
that. He now
Uh,
has the tattoo Steranko sig.
and slide it up. No, they did nothing. They never owned up to it. And Flash by Night points out it's part of their organization. It's kind of loosely tied to their organization, but it's the one that they've got a exclusive agreement to. That hey, if they press their stuff,
Yes,
we trust it's right.
CCS, CGC, PMG, all those are different companies, but they're all under the umbrella of the Certified Collectibles Group. So they're different companies, but they're owned by the same company. Kind of like Pizza Hut and Taco Bell and all them are all under the Yum brand.
Right. So, and so what they do is they pass it off, and it's like, do you think that this is the 1960s that nobody has the internet? I mean, Al Gore invented the internet, right? So we can go and we can see anything we want to see. It says it plainly on your website. Look, but they're like, oh, it's the presser's fault. But the presser is you. Own up to it.
Yeah. That's the problem. It's not so much the damage that was caused, it's the fact that they're not owning up to the issues and trying to fix them.
Right.
It's customer service. Serve the customer. It's not that hard.
You've got a case. This is another CGC side rant here, but you've got a case that sounds like a baby rattle.
Yeah, this. Well, I hope you ain't rattling no babies, but this is Detective Comics 38, the facsimile, and sometimes my camera does this, and I don't know why. It's kind of weird. Let me go.
Okay, there you go. You're unfroze now.
There we go. But anyway, I don't know why my camera sometimes does that. This is a new computer, but obviously it's the facsimile edition, and it's a 9.8. Now, I'm okay messing with this because I didn't think it was going to get a 9.8, but apparently they thought the tear down here in the corner was bindery or something, so they gave it a 9.8. But let's see if you can hear what I hear. Can y'all hear that? That's the inner well is not seated in the outer case. It is sort of free floating inside. And that is not good, folks. I bought a 9.8 X-Men 282 First Bishop. And I spent, $70-$80 on it because it was going to be a buy and hold. But when I got it, I pulled it out like this. So when I went, I noticed, hey, it's shakeable. And I looked, and the cover didn't seem like it was attached very well at the staples. So I cracked it open, took out the book, and the interior fell out from the cover. It had shaked so much that the 9.8 was now a 0.5 or less because the cover had shook loose from the staples. So a lot of people know that this exists, the shaking, and they don't seem to really say anything about it, but it could be a big issue. So now I'm very wary when I buy one of these, and when I get them back, I always keep them upright. I put them in here, and I try not to touch them too much unless I'm showing them, and I show them like this. That way, it'll still keep the grade that it is. But just as comparison, here is a brand new CBCS case. Let's see if we can repeat. Not a thing.
Yeah. And see, that's the deal. And that's what I went on this rant with CGC when I called them. So I've called them on these original two that we were just talking about from the start. And they said, hey, sorry that happened. Okay, good. We're sorry that happened. This is what you need to do. You need to send me an email with the numbers on there letting us know that these were wrong. We will send you a sticker to fix it. Okay. I said, everybody makes mistakes, but why is it that right now I'm on the phone with you and I cannot just give you these numbers and you send me an email right now to fix it? Oh, well, we have to follow protocol. Well, protocol was getting it right in the first place. You've already broke protocol once. Why don't you break it again and fix it? So I had to send an email. I have yet to get a response back from them with the deal. And okay, great. I'm not going to have to pay for shipping. And I've still got the stuff that it came in, so I don't have to pay for packaging and all that kind of stuff. Fine. But I do take a chance that when I'm mailing it back to CGC, that the post office doesn't like that box because of the increase in postal activity, mostly concerning mail boxes. You take that chance. I just mailed off a Hulk 180, 181, 182, a Conan 1, and a Marvel Premiere 15. That's a bunch of money in that box to my presser.
Did you put a fragile on the box?
I wrote fragile on every side of that box.
They may take that as a challenge.
They might be. They might be. And so I, and it looked like it had been through the ringer. And luckily, the presser says that everything was good with that box. What's going on, Sith Lordly? Thanks for joining. But he's hot and bothered. Yeah, I mean, look, it takes a lot to work me up. But, when you're talking about my comics, I get worked up, okay? And so I know no grading service is perfect, but you need to know your shortcomings and try to do better. Exactly. And I told that guy today, I said, the only reason why you never owned up to this or any other deal, I said, you never owned up to tearing my cover off of my X-Men comic. You never owned up to your problem with your website because additionally, on their website, you're supposed to be able to go on there and find out the status of your comics. Are they in grading? Are they received? Are they scheduled for grading? Have they been graded? Have they been shipped? Okay. And they do that so that you don't have to call customer service. It takes the volume of customer service calls down. They save money. It's convenient to me. Fine. But when you go on there and it's just saying received when other books have been shipped, they were shipped wrong with the wrong label, but they were shipped and others are showing scheduled for grading. They all came in the same box. Why are others showing still received? So I call and I say, hey, what's the problem with this? Why are they showing received? I'm worried that you lost my books. And they said, oh, no, it's actually scheduled for grading. That's just behind. That's behind.
How did she see on her computer that it's scheduled for grading, but you can't? It should be tied into the same system.
Should be, or she was lying to me.
Here's you got me ranting on other stuff now. Check this out. When you go to the CGC website and you look at your submissions, you have the number that you can click on, the submission number, and when you click on that, it brings up all your books. Right. If they've been graded, it'll bring up your grader's notes and the grades you received. What I don't like is when you have the book at CGC and it just says received,
right? You
can't click on that.
Right.
And I'm always worried that maybe something happened. So when I send in books, I really, really am nervous until I can click on that number and see that they got the correct books and all the books that I sent them. Right now, I've got probably 30 books over there that I can't see. I don't know if they actually have them or not. Now, usually that's not that big of a problem, but I sent 41 books in a pre-screen. CGC only does 25 books per order. So they had to break that out into a 25 book order and a 16 book order. The 25 is already scheduled for grading. How, I don't know. The other 16 are not. So I see all my 25, but I don't know if they have the 16 correct or not. But how can I not? How is it that I'm not looking at both? Because they were the same thing, just one number off because they had to break it out
right.
The two orders. So how is one scheduled for grading and one still received? I don't get that. To me, if they have them in the system as received, you ought to be able to click on the number and see what books they have for you so you can make sure they have your correct books and everything.
Right.
I don't understand why they can't do that. And in this particular issue, CBCS is actually worse.
Oh, okay. Well, when talking about CBCS, because everybody can rant. If a dog bites you once, it's a bad dog. If a dog bites you twice, same dog bites you twice, it's stupid you. So
Yeah.
really, a lot of it's on me or us as the consumer because we still use this sorry service called CGC. Why? Because the industry as a whole says that they're the standard bearer. Now, I would argue that there are other good options out there. CBCS is definitely up their game with their cases. And you can get the yellow label. So they've upped their game with the color of their labels, as ludicrous as that sounds.
And label design in general has been tweaked, and it's better.
You're able to get your grader's notes without having to pay for them if you buy a book on the secondary market. So
people don't realize how huge that one is.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge because if you're a guy that's buying a book, let's say you're buying it to look to sell it. You're looking at those grader's notes, and by those grader's notes, you know that book wasn't pressed or that book wasn't clean. Well, now you know there's some meat on that bone that you can turn around and sell it to.
Collectors like the Golden Age guys, like your DS Comics, Knights of Old, the JD. A lot of those guys will buy notes to look at a book and judge what they want to do with it, or if they think they'd like to buy it or not. And not having to pay for that is a huge deal.
Right. Yeah. Unruly says that this is why order books already slabbed. That's true. It is kind of a thrill to see that, hey, if your grading is on target or not, right? You buy something because you can get it for cheaper if it's raw. And then okay, I know that this is this grade. There is some kind of thrill.
That's the main reason why I have a membership and send books in at the various places, is because they're so much cheaper raw. And then you can grade them, or you can press and clean them and get that other grade. But I'm also doing it to sell. If I were just straight up collecting, Unruly Simeon's right, that's the most simplistic way you can go. Unless your book was shaken to death and has a detached cover and it's a 9.8 or supposed to be.
True that. So, CBCS, though, in fairness to CGC, lacks in the customer service department worse than CGC from the standpoint
they don't lack in customer service. Their customer service went out behind the shed and got shot in the face.
Because when you call, at least with CGC, you get to talk to a person. Theoretically, I guess they're in Sarasota, Florida, so they talk relatively normal. And I'm not looking for somebody that's got a Southern accent here, but I am looking for somebody that not only knows how to speak English, but understands English. There is a definitive difference between the two. And when you call and you're talking to somebody and they say, "Oh, excuse me, sir, I do not understand what you are saying. Would you please repeat yourself?" Then guess what happens? You get frustrated and you get the other person frustrated. Give you an example, not related to CBCS, but my phone wasn't working the other day. For some reason, they punched me through to overseas support. I literally made that poor Filipino woman cry. I got so mad. She was dry heaving. She was, I'm sorry, sir. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I am sorry that I done this to you, but this is the frustration level when we cannot communicate, right? And so if CBCS just simply did that, maybe had a core group of customer service people for escalated calls, maybe tweak their website a little bit so most of that can be funneled through there as opposed to having a physical person to talk to. I don't know. But to me, it's CBCS because they've started getting a reputation for being a more stricter grader, which I can appreciate. Yeah. Not when it hurts my pocketbook, but I mean, we can appreciate it. Anyhow, but that's the deal. So you have EGS out there. They're kind of as an outlier. They're really slightly on the radar.
I'm not going to call them in the game just yet because as of right now, as far as I know, it's still one guy, and he doesn't have a proprietary slab or one that he made. He's modifying a comic skin. So let's see what he does in the next few years.
And that's the deal with the CGC, and they know that. You can rest assured they know that their books are getting more money when the seller sells them, and therefore that's why they know they're going to get used. So if we as a consumer group will start going away from that and getting out of that moniker that CBCS books aren't worth as much as CGC books, if we start paying the same for them, then we will change the market and we will not have to listen to this, because competition breeds the success. And so if you know this is a viable alternative.
That's not as true as it used to be. Like, I mean, you look at sales now, and aside from the outlier, which you'll have no matter what, it's not that big of a difference. And if you're counting on that difference, then you didn't do a good job when you bought the thing in the first place.
There's only a slighter difference. And you know, I've got 3 of the Wolverine 1 banana covers. Okay. One's still at CBCS pressing. So obviously CBCS still has problems with their pressing service, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I was going to sell one, so I just threw it up there. A guy readily reached out to me on IG, and he said, "I'll give you this much for it." And I take that back. The way he started the conversation was, you know, that CBCS doesn't command as much value as the CGC. I said, well, first off, I'm not asking for as much as what CGC slabs are selling for. And so after you got through, trashing my book, that's a 9.8. Go ahead and give me an offer. He didn't buy my book, and I was okay with that. But when we, as a community, as a whole, and when you're talking about, it takes a while to move the needle. So the CBCS customer service person gave me a couple of wrong answers on my phone call to them. Their email takes longer, but I got accurate emails.
That's happened to me. Email was a bit more productive. And if you go on their forums, which I believe you have to be a member, but I think they have free membership for the forums, you'll get answers from like Steve Borak himself, from the Ricketts guy who does the pressing. It's much better than calling customer service. But sometimes that's your only option. And when you have the kind that they have, you just want to some people just need to be shot. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
So, yeah, that's true. So talk about the pressing service. And so CGC, one of the ways that they maintain their monopoly, if you will, is for that coveted yellow label, right? Because you have to witness it in order. And so let's say you buy a book that's already witnessed and you want to maintain that CGC label. And give you an example of this was my Giant Size X-Men #1. I bought one that was already slabbed, 3.5 CGC label. And it was all bent up. And I said, man, I could press that thing and make it beautiful. So the presser did his magic, and it is currently at CBCS. And so I should be having a video on that in the next week or so, because it's fixing to be slabbed and shipped out. But in order for me to have maintained a CGC, I would have had to send it to their presser. So why is it that you choose their presser? So you're saying there's only one presser in the United States that we trust to not dicky with these signatures, okay? But you trust and certify all these people to witness the signature in the first place. Why can't these pressers like Erod or somebody like that, they say, look, you do a lot of business. We're going to certify you to be one of our pressers. And it's the same thing as witnessing the signature in the first place.
Yeah. Or just having witness as a witnesser of signatures. And then when he sends the book in after pressing, he can verify that it's witnessed.
Yeah.
It's the same thing you just said.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that would be a way for CGC to take some of the load off of their pressing service. But because it's their sister company, they're not interested in taking the load off of their pressing company. That's money out of their pocket.
Well, it's also in the same building. I don't know if anyone knows this, but the collectibles group, all of them are in the same building. Their paper money, the coins, trading cards, comics, the pressing, all of that is in that same building in Sarasota, Florida. So everything gets done there. And it's great when they can just walk it over from CCS to CGC. So, I mean, I understand why they want to do that, but they're getting so many books. I don't see how it's really tenable anymore because, yeah, they have a monopoly, like Rob just said, But the problem with that is that they keep making mistakes. They keep not owning up to them. They keep doing it and keep doing it. Eventually, there's going to come a reckoning, and it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Bad.
Well, and Unruly says if CBCS says a book's a 9.8, it's a 9.8, and they've gotten that reputation for being a stricter grader. To me, even though that hurts my feelings sometimes in my pocketbook, that's good. For a fact that the strictest grader is saying this is a 9.8. You should feel more confident in selling the book. I love what they did. CBCS did with the yellow labels. They will say certified signature as opposed to witness signature, because I've got a New Mutant #1 that they didn't.
I don't like that, but I'm a minority apparently, so I'll just stay quiet in my corner.
So, like, for instance, I got a New Mutants 1 signed last year by Bob McLeod. Nobody witnessed it. Okay. I got Chris Claremont to sign that New Mutants 1 when I went to Huntsville Comic Con a few months ago. So it came back. And once Chris Claremont says witnessed, and then Bob McLeod says certified. So that tells the seller that if I was to sell that book, that tells the seller that the buyer rather, thank you, the buyer what they need to know. And in that yellow label is more of a gold standard, to pardon the pun, much better than the pink label that they used to have. So you're right. And like I said, until the market, and it takes a while to move that needle, because CGC was, at least with these companies we've been talking about, the first to the market. So they did have a head start on that. But yeah, as people continue to get ticked, they're going to push people.
It's like Coke and Pepsi. When all of the soda started, there were, you had the 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, Coke, Pepsi, about 12,000 other different sodas, and they did battle and kept getting better and better until now you only have, well, really it's just Coke and Pepsi, and then a couple other well-run independents like Dr. Pepper and 7-Up are now in one company, and they are excellent. Pepsi tastes great. Coke tastes a little better. Dr. Pepper is awesome. So right now we're in the early stages, but we only have CGC and CBCS. It's going to be hard with just one person as the competition. We need at least a third player in there. And because of their history, I don't think PGX is up for it.
So, you got to put a moon pie with that, RC.
Yeah.
So definitely an option there.
Our champagne and caviar is an RC and a moon pie.
So you've got CGC up here, you got CBCS down here, but then PGX is way down here, and they have a reputation, not a good one, for getting it wrong. I have seen plenty of videos on the internet that shows all three of the big three have gotten it wrong before, and I would argue it's not just PGX.
It's not just PGX. It's just the history, especially when they were first formed, some bad practices. And like with me, when they do get it wrong, it's like an atom bomb when they do. Now, they do have great customer service. I will give them that. But I just don't see how they can truly be the third player with their history. There's just no way you can escape from it. And you got plenty of people that refuse to do any business with them because of the burn they got in the past, no matter how good or bad they may be now. So EGS isn't it at the moment. I really hope we get a third player in, because I think having three vying for the crown will help a lot better than just CGC and CBCS.
Right. Yeah, and PGX, Will, you before we went live, you were sharing, a deal that you had with them where they messed up really bad on the label, but they owned up to it and they gave you a credit back for it.
Yeah.
And CBCS.
Let me go ahead and just tell them what happened. Is I sent in a 10-book order, and 9 of the books had something wrong. About 5 of them were graded way off. Like I'm talking a 6.0 that's actually a 3.0. And the others had horrible problems on their labeling. For example, a Daredevil 77, a 15-cent comic book, was apparently, according to the label, made in 1987, and it had an appearance by Spider-Man. They misspelled appearance as occurrence, and it was also apparently published by DC, not Marvel. So those are severe issues, and I haven't used them again since because I got really mad. But I do have to say, when I called and told him how that was so egregious, I'm not sending the books back to you. And also, I had plans for the books and I needed them. I couldn't wait, that I'd like a credit. And he offered me $100 credit. So I do have to say that for all, the stuff I can say against them, they got pretty good customer service.
They do. And, I was using them to get something slabbed and authenticated signatures. And before CBCS started offering that service with the yellow label, because I didn't like the pink label that they had, or they called it red, but I mean, it's pink. Anyhow, so I was using them for that. And similarly to you, there was a hair inside the case. And so they told me to send it back, and they not only fixed it, but they also regraded and re-authenticated and pressed another book for free for me. And so sent it back with that one fixed. And their turnaround time is better when you get them to press than what the other ones are. And
well, that's probably just because they don't have as many people sending to them. I don't know if they got the same amount of volume, if that was true.
Undoubtedly they don't. But I mean, the point being is, though, if all the other pressers in the community are great, but with the postal service, you are taking another chance at those books not getting back to somebody, and then in the end, you in the same shape of which you started out. And when you can send it to them to get it pressed and it moves right over to the next desk to get graded in a timely fashion, which CBCS and CGC don't have, that's a big plus. So,
yeah, well, that's just this is a thing for all you guys watching. Make sure when you take precautions when shipping, like, for example, the Gemini mailer is excellent. Excuse me, that's upside down. The Gemini mailer is excellent, and don't skip out. Try and save your money on the shipping. If you're selling a book and you want to make a profit, what you pay for that book is what determines your profit, not what you can do on saving money with shipping. Use your Gemini, use your bubble wrap. If you're a tape person, painter's tape. Just do the best you can to make sure that that's about as bulletproof as it can be, so that if it gets drop kicked by a postal worker, it'll still probably be okay. So don't skip out on the shipping material. It may cost a little more, but again, if you're selling for profit, it matters not what you ship it with, but what you paid for the book. So if you can't handle that, then maybe you shouldn't buy and sell, because you're obviously not good enough if you're depending on the shipping material savings to be what gets you over the edge.
Right. And it takes a little time to pack things right and ship them right, but America used to be on the gold standard, Rob, and everything in paper was backed by gold. I think it's subliminal, in which I put it in the chat. But and nothing's going to change until we as a community change. And there's a lot of us we's out there and since they do have a head start, the only option, and I think that this has been mentioned multiple times, is for a big contender. CBCS currently is the only one that can get out there and do it. I would like, but yeah, PGX is a viable option depending on what you're buying it for. If you're not buying it to do anything but preserve the book and make it look nice and all that kind of good stuff, PGX is perfectly fine. If you're planning on selling it, right now CGC is the only one, the one that does. I prefer CGC. It's the gold standard for resale value. Go collect, fair market based on CGC sales, not CBCS. Frustrates me when people try to sell.
Actually, that's incorrect, Weapon X. The GPA is strictly eBay and CGC, but Go Collect actually does CGC and CBCS, and it does more than just the standard blue label for both. And you could go in and break all that out and do just CBCS pricing if you wanted to figure out what a CBCS book goes for. And you could do it with just green labels, or you could do it with just SIGs, So that's why I prefer Go Collect over GPA, because it has more data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can dive deep into that Go Collect data and be able to find the answers that you're looking for. And especially if you're going after a big book, whether it's to sell or whether it's to put in your PC, you want them to get a good deal on it, right? So that you better start diving into the data, because I've noticed on Go Collect, if you just preliminarily look at what the average sale price has been over the last little bit, sometimes when you have reprints, those reprints get classified into the regular because they're not listed as a reprint. But when you pull the picture up showing the book that was sold, it is the reprint. Raphael #1 is an example of that. So you do have to do your homework in either case, but Go Collect is a good website to be able to do that with. But that's kind of what we're talking about, Weapon X. If we as a community will then say, hey, look, CBCS is just as tougher on their grading as what CGC is. If we start recognizing that and then paying accordingly, then the things will shift. Obviously the prices will shift. If CBCS steps up their game on the customer service side, which in my mind puts them ahead of CGC, then maybe that will help people lean towards that way. And maybe it's not just CBCS stepping up their game. Maybe it's the other smaller players getting better as well, taking a little market share from the other two just because of the frustrations with the big guys.
Yeah. The whole customer service thing with CBCS is so bad to me that since I don't use CCS, I use someone like Erod or another outside presser, and I don't do that many signatures, hardly ever. I'm going to stick with CGC for now, but if CBCS can fix that customer service issue, and if they can fix their pressing issue, which they are working on right now, then I will probably just go to CBCS, because their cases to me are slightly better in the fact that they don't shake. And that could be a big potential issue with me, because I've seen it for myself, what can happen. So as of right now, I'm CGC, but yes, I do plan on going CBCS if they can fix that customer service, because that's...
Yeah, I'm going to have like I said, I've got some other books coming shortly from CBCS, so we'll see. I've got a Giant Size X-Men #1 at CBCS right now, an Archer and Armstrong 0 that has Bob Layton and Barry Windsor Smith's signature. You don't see that one very often on it. And then also a Batman First Red Hood. I can't think of the issue number, but the Batman has got Matt Wagner did a Batman remark and signature on the front cover. And those are the reasons why I sent them to CBCS as opposed to CGC, like I had sent my TMNT #1. I would have sent my TMNT #1 to CBCS if they had magazine holders. And so that's another thing that CBCS is going to have to do in order to get more of the market.
Well, I just wanted to show here's another bit of a rant, I guess. Apparently that's what this show is.
Oh yeah, I do. I think that is a problem, because the market is dictating that newsstands are carrying more weight, more value now.
That is mainly because CGC, until recently, they didn't break it out either on the labels. They don't break it out, but CBCS does, and on their census, you can look it up differently, and you can with the CGC, but only on a few books, like stuff from the 90s that doesn't have them, So I think that's new, and that's why they haven't done it yet. But once that gets to be more standard, I think you'll see it reflect in the GPA and Go Collect and all that.
Yeah, there's been starting to be quite the disparity between some of the bigger newsstand versus direct copies, like the ASM 300, the 299s.
Ooh, I have a perfect example sitting right here.
Okay.
How much would you pay for this book? It's Savage Dragon #2.
$1.
Okay. What if it was a 9.8 slab?
I'm not a Savage Dragon fan, so probably still $1, but yeah, maybe 40.
Man, 40 because that's what it costs to grade it, right?
Yeah, sure. Right.
Okay. But now it's a newsstand. How much would you pay for it?
If I was a Savage Dragon fan, I'd pay a little bit more for it just because.
So a little bit more? How much is a little bit more?
Probably $20.
That's just, what would you pay for a 9.8?
I'd probably pay 80. Probably be my max on that.
80 would be your maximum. I got one of these graded. This is another copy I have. I got this graded in a 9.8, and I put it on eBay, and it sold after an hour and a half for $175.
Wow.
There was only like 4. Mine was the 4th one on the census. So there's something to be said about newsstand and rarity. So this bad boy's going to get graded, and we'll see if I can make that magic happen again.
Well, and so what Matt was talking about, similarly here, you got a newsstand and Wildcats #1. It is noted at the top that this is a newsstand edition, but it's not broken out. Now, I know that like Savage Dragon, Wildcats, those image titles from the 90s, there was a million copies of them, but there wasn't as many newsstands at that point, and then certainly they're not in high grade. But this is a book right here. Every time I see a newsstand Wildcats, I pick it up, and normally I can pick it up for $5 in the wild. Because they're just rare. I mean, if I had that Savage Dragon, if I saw it in a dollar bin or for a couple bucks, I'm gonna pick it up just because
the ASM 300, I think is like a 1 in 4, maybe a 1 in 5 for the newsstand.
Mm-hmm.
But Spawn #1 is like a 1 in 200.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is a difference there, but I think we'll start seeing that reflected more because as long as people keep, making note of how this is a newsstand, we had mentioned, turnaround times and all that. Do you remember the good old days when Fast Track, man, it cut the time in half?
You paid for Fast Track, so you got Fast Track. Wasn't that amazing?
Now, this check this out. Okay, this isn't so bad. 44 days, Fast Track, 26 days. That's not so bad. But look at this. 70 days, Fast Track is 52. Now get this one. 65 days, Fast Track is 50. Not much of a fast track, is it?
It's all subjective, right, Big Will? I mean, it's Fast Track to them.
Well, I don't think they state it anymore because they're tricky little things, but it used to be that a Fast Track literally cut your time in half. And that's why you would want to do it and why it was worth $10 per book, because your time got cut in half. That's not true anymore.
So if the Fast Track is 65 days, what does that tell you for the normal track? Is it more than 65 days?
Well, it's supposed to be business days. So that that turns 30 days into like a month and a half, 2 months. So the one over here, the value tier is 70 days. That's business days. So even if that is perfectly correct, that's still what? It's like 3.5 months just for grading. Imagine if you pressed it with them.
Well, what's problematic with that is if you're like you and you don't keep nothing, with me, if I hate that it's in somebody else's possession and not my own because I like my stuff here. But if for you who are usually buying books and trying to sell them off, especially if it's like a spec book, right? I mean, you're paying that extra $10. You're cutting into your margin to get that book fast so you can sell it before it might go down.
Oh, I've solved that problem. I just don't fast track.
Oh.
And I don't do much modern spec on stuff that just comes out either because it's too dangerous.
Well, you can't.
I don't have to worry about it. Do what?
You can't with it not coming back too quick because you'll get burnt.
I know, so I don't have to worry about it. I focus my spec on books like Eternals 1, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm a pretty safe bet. So Weapon X, what do you think of CB? I mean, if they want to get into that and expand that business, that's great. What I fear is it's going to just continue to pull people away from doing what we want, which is getting comics back to us in a timely fashion. But
they're hiring people just for the cards, though. They made a whole new company under that umbrella, the certified collectible. Now there's a there's CCS that does the pressing, and now there's like CBS or something. They made another one of those companies. So now they got one that's handling like sports cards and stuff. But the ones for like Pokemon, I think they are under CGC. So yeah, I'm a little, that's expected for them to do that, but I would be a little worried, myself about what you just said. What if the one guy that could make your book come back a week sooner is looking at Pokemon,
Yeah, if nothing else, the shipping department, are they hiring more people in the shipping and packing department?
I bet you money that is one of the few departments that gets the least expansion.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, because it's behind the scenes. And, But thanks, everybody, for joining us today on this rant, if you will.
Yeah, how many people are watching? I can't see on the stream yard.
Just 15 people are watching, so appreciate it. It's been about that much the whole time. People been in and new people been in and people been out. I do want to go ahead and take a moment to do a plug of sorts. And here we are talking about CGC. I guess they're the necessary evil, but I do have a New Mutants number 98 direct edition. And talking about this is kind of as an aside. Oh, look, a squirrel. Can't keep focused. I bought a newsstand copy of this last night. So I'm already planning for somebody to get rid of this. And the newsstands do gather more money than what the directs of these do.
Well, it's a 91 newsstand?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, 91. Yep. So, anyways, this is up for grabs along with this little companion to go with it for my 600 subscriber giveaway. And all you have to do to enter to win, first off, you have to be 18 years or older. You do not have to be inside the continental United States. You have to be a subscriber to the channel. Those preliminaries out of the way, let's talk what you have to do. All you have to do is find at least one new to you comic book or pop channel and subscribe to them. In one of their videos, somewhere in one of their videos, doesn't matter which one, you want to drop the hashtag SCG sent me. Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat. So if it's not clear with my southern slang, but it's SCG sent me hashtag in any of their videos after you subscribe to them. Then you come back to any of my videos and in the comments write, hey, I signed up to so-and-so. Okay. My hope is you'll find, as JB likes to put it, your new favorite channel, other than mine or Big Wheels, right? But you'll find some new content creator out there that is sharing their collection with you. and it'll be fun. So I do have a couple of channels that just have a few hundred subscribers, and some that are almost the same side. CHG Unlimited is one of the newer channels, so feel free to check out CHG Unlimited. Agu Rhythm, the artist formerly known as Agu Ramos, is now Agu Rhythm, and we certainly always enjoy when the Agu Rhythm hits our videos. And then Slim Comics and more, and then of course Big Wheel Comics, who is featured on this channel right now. Big Will, I think he is out of the 40 for 40 boxes for now. If you want to put a plug in for something.
Yeah, someone went and bought the last ones I had.
Yeah, who would do that?
Yeah, right now the 40-40 box is sold out. I hope to make some more within the next month or so. However, they won't be the same. In other words, they're not going to be Spider-Man heavy. So there'll be another twist for those. So we'll have to figure out what happens then. But I'll probably be selling somewhere on some channel all through the month. And the last Monday of November, I will do another auction. And I should be getting my books back from CGC in November, at least 30 of them. So I'll have some unboxings and other stuff to sell as well.
So hopefully we'll get our CBCS books that we both submitted at the Huntsville Comic Con by then as well, maybe, hopefully.
No, we won't.
It'll be a next year.
I'm hoping for January.
Yeah.
You know, that's when we'll probably get them back, because I've been looking on occasion on my phone here for CBCS just to see if maybe they've changed. And so far, I'm about to check again, but they haven't even budged. Let's see. Have they done anything?
So yeah, so I think you've already entered, Matt, Mr. Comics 89. I think you have already entered. I'm not sure about anybody else in the chat. But yeah, check out Mr. Comics 89. I shout out his channel because he was on my 500 subscriber giveaway video, and him and Adrian Panda Awesome 316, he was on there. But yeah, so anybody that's in the chat, that's another good, if they have video content on YouTube, would be another good target to have. Pocan Joe, I don't have my awkward sip of coffee because I should show this. Maybe they'll sponsor me one day, right? But I've already drank my coffee, so no awkward sips of coffee there. But Weapon X, Unruly Simeon, several others that have been in the chat. Lady Fantastic, I know she's usually on other people's channels showing off books, but her too. I don't know if Matt Marlin has a YouTube channel. I know he normally sells his comics on IG.
Still received, just in case you were wondering.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, I kept hitting refresh while we were doing this, hoping that CGC would change something with my books that are showing received, yet they're telling me that they're scheduled for grading. And I also had my email up so that I was hoping that sometime during this deal that they would email me back, because, you know, I was going to give them, hey, fast turnaround on trying to handle a problem, but no email as of yet. So there you have it.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, Big Will, I appreciate you jumping on at the last minute. Sometimes it's good to bounce some ideas off somebody else, and you certainly had your fair share of rants like I did. And so, anything going on your channel that you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Not at the moment. Right now, I'm just figuring out how I'm gonna. I got a few different options on how to do this wall back here, because, you know, I have all those Alex Ross timeless variants that I'm going to be displaying as my background. And I'm just trying to figure out how the best way to do that is. There's a couple different options for displaying them. So I'm just going to figure that out. I'll do a video when I get it done. And, of course, just watch out, you know, Barbarian Kung Fu, Big Lion Cat, you know, Who Dat Comics. keep an eye out. I'll probably pop on someone's thing throughout November, and I'll be happy to build a box with you if you buy something from me. All sales are due to be paid and everything every time I do an auction on my channel, which will be the last Monday of November. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I have no plans for the rest of October, which is what, like 3 days?
Hey, so it came from Nerd Cave. Appreciate you subbing up, Pocan Joe. If you don't mind, after this video post or any on my other videos, just so I don't miss you, because when I always reply to every comment on any video that I do. If you don't mind putting that same deal in a video, the comments below, that way I don't miss your comment. I want to make sure that you get entered in. Let's see, working on a new channel. Keep you posted. Okay. Well, normally he's slinging some heat over on IG. Weapon X, same with you. If you don't mind going to one of my videos, whether it's this one or another one, and posting them in the comments below. Yeah, it's elbow cough, but it does look like a dab, and that's why I dabbed, as opposed to coughing. And Matt says he just subscribed to Big Will. So. Yeah, if you don't mind, if you would just leave it in a comment in one of my videos, so that and not the chat. Don't trust in the chat. Missed the whole show. I'll watch the replay for sure. I'm heading to Dave's right now. Okay. He's going to go to Dave's. Going to pick up some heat. So be jelly. Check the pop video when you can. Got to go. Already plan to. Greetings from T-Town. By the way. All right. Appreciate it. Well, Big Will, appreciate you coming on, and everybody that's been hanging out with us in the chat live. I appreciate you. And for anybody that catches this on the rewind, I appreciate you as well. But in either case, be sure that you check out either the description of the 600 subscriber giveaway, the ways to win in this video, or any of my last few videos. I'm going to be dropping a haul video from yesterday. It'll be going out later tonight. I've already recorded it. And so be sure to be checking out that. So hit the notification bell so that you'll know when that video drops. And if you haven't already, smash that like button on the way out of here. And for everybody else, have a good rest of your day. Stay safe out there. And until next time, keep reading and keep collecting. Adios.